rises for the win from 29 from the right hash. Kuz kick is good. Here is Durant for the win. James for the win. It's gone. LeBron James at the buzzer.
We ready?
All right. Let's do it, man.
All right.
Lakers suck.
I got a rant.
Lakers suck.
Got a rant, man. We been a tough year. Been a tough season. For Laker Nation. We got to talk about it. I got to get some stuff off my chest.
They're so terrible.
We are currently 26-31 in ninth place, the Western Conference. Everything that could go wrong has gone wrong. And let's talk about why. All right, so let's go. Let's go back to the end of Kobe's career. All right,
We going that
we
far
going
back?
We going back.
Okay.
We're going that far.
Hey,
back.
take it away.
So we give Kobe these max extensions because, of course, he's done so much for the Lakers brand.
Kobe.
It's Kobe. Makes sense. We can't sign any free agents to play with Kobe because they know Kobe's aging, so they're just waiting for him to retire. It is what it is. But, however, once Dr. Buss died, we put Jim Buss, his son, in charge of basketball operations, and he was awful. He was the one that gave Timothy Mozgov like a $60 million, Luol Deng and Jeremy Lin, just all of these awful contracts. Eventually, you're laughing a little too much for me right now. Eventually, Jeannie Buss takes over. But we're still we're still a circus per se. We get Lonzo Ball with the second pick overall because we allowed LeVar Ball to convince us that he was the next Magic Johnson. Jason Tatum was on the board.
Yeah.
But we go with Lonzo. Now, in general, we have drafted really well because we found, Lonzo's not a superstar, but Lonzo's a really good NBA player. We drafted Brandon Ingram. We found Kyle Kuzma at the end of the first round. We found Alex Caruso undrafted. We found Austin Reeves this year undrafted. We found Talen Horton-Tucker. We drafted Julius Randle. What's his name? Jordan Clarkson. So we've done a really good job in terms of finding talent. The problem with the Lakers is we don't develop the talent. But anyways, so we've accumulated all these young players, and LeBron James loses to the Warriors for the ninth time in a row or whatever. So LeBron comes, and everybody knows what happens next with AD in terms of that trade. How we handle it during the season was, again, a circus. And one thing about being a Laker fan, it's very stressful because we're used to, again, be careful. We're used to, everything is drama. Everything is drama. So we're dangling our young players in front of the Pelicans' faces in the middle of the season, only for us not to trade them. So then the rest of the season, they're pissed off. LeBron gets hurt, blah, blah, blah. But then we get AD, and things change. The championship year, the way we constructed the team made sense. And we should have stuck with that blueprint, but we didn't. LeBron James at the point can be the best point guard in the league. Then you got AD. He did best when he was at the 5, but he did play the 4 most of that season. I think that helped conserve him because he's not a bruiser. AD's a finesse player. He's like a softer Kevin Garnett. We win that year because LeBron James and AD were 2 of the top 6, 7 players in the league, hands down. However, the championship team offensively was limited. We couldn't shoot. And I was concerned if we could win a championship because we just couldn't shoot. We couldn't shoot threes, but we had a good defense. And Frank Vogel, which we could talk about the hiring of Frank Vogel. We hired Frank Vogel because the front office knew they could little boy him. I use that term. They picked his staff. They told him what he could do and what he couldn't do. That's why Monty Williams and Ty Lue were like, "Nah, we're not doing this." And trying to pay Ty Lue. So we get Frank Vogel. Frank Vogel had some great teams, good teams with the Indiana Pacers in the early 2010s. But defensive, head coach. So AD and LeBron are handling things on offense. Frank Vogel and his defense are doing their things. We have the personnel. We have Alex Caruso. We have Danny Green. And anybody that knows me or follow me on Facebook knows I gave Danny Green a really hard time. Today, February 16, 2022, I miss Danny Green. I miss Danny Green. I'm sorry.
Really?
I'm sorry to Danny
You
Green.
used to go in on Danny Green.
I used to go
on
in
Facebook
on Danny
every single game.
And you know what?
Hilarious.
We could use him. But, yeah, I mean, the team, after you win a championship, you always have to upgrade. We know that. You got to upgrade the team. We were able to upgrade the team in phenomenal manners. We got Montrezl Harrell and Dennis Schroeder, who were the sixth man of the year and the sixth man runner-up. We got Wes Matthews. We kept Kyle Kuzma. We kept KCP. We kept Caruso. We had a squad. We were deep. We got Markieff Morris the previous year in the buyout market. So going into last season, we started 21-6. And AD's not even playing well. Like, AD was a shell of himself last year. But then he gets hurt. And we're hanging on. And then LeBron gets hurt, playing against the dirty Atlanta
This
Hawks.
guy.
Jesus.
This
People
guy.
diving
He
into
dove for the ball,
People
bro.
diving into
He
his
dove for
legs.
the ball.
The man's leg is right there. He's
Solomon
diving
Hill
into
is
his-
not a dirty player.
Solomon Hill. That's not a basketball play.
It was definitely a basketball.
Like, he had the ball was going out of bounds. So he dove in. He felt like hurting LeBron. It's
Oh,
okay.
my
It happened.
God.
So
Bless
the
your
dirty
heart,
Atlanta
bro.
Hawks,
Bless your heart.
they hurt
bro.
LeBron. So then we go like 500 for the rest of the season. LeBron and AD are hurt. They come back. They're ready for the playoffs. LeBron's still a little nicked up. AD is, I'd say they were both at like 90%. We lose game 1 to the Suns. Then the next 2 games, AD drops 34. We're up 2-1. At that point, everybody knew, or everybody conceded, that we were going to win the series. And if anyone says otherwise, they're lying. That's revisionist history. Everybody was saying Lakers in 5 at that point. It was just a foregone conclusion. The manner in which we dismantled the Suns. AD gets hurt. He gets hurt with the groin injury. LeBron's, hanging on. We end up losing in 6. Devin Booker scores like 40. I think he scored 47 in game 6. Chris Paul was hurt most of that series, and we didn't take advantage of that. But whatever. At that point, you had Laker fans in 2 different camps. Like, do we just run it back? Some people were saying we need to start it over. We need to flip everything around, overhaul. I saw both sides. On one hand, it was very frustrating watching the team offensively when LeBron and AD were not in. It was like, we need playmakers. We didn't have any playmakers. We didn't have like people that could create their own shot. Dennis Schroeder was a bum last year. Like, my Lord. Like, that last year proved Dennis Schroeder is a 6th man. He tried to come in like, I'm a starter. I'm tired of going off the bench.
I think he was trying to play for a contract too hard.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't think he's
Yeah.
a bum. I think he was just trying to play for a contract.
Hyperbole. I say bum and trash a lot.
Gotcha.
He's not a terrible player. He was terrible for the Lakers. So our additions didn't work out for a couple reasons. One, you had situations like that where he's playing for a contract. He's not necessarily playing for a championship. 2, one thing, and I'm Frank Vogel, his time is coming. I'm going to get on him. I don't think Frank Vogel makes it clear what people's roles are. To this day, I don't know what Kyle Kuzma's role on the team was. You got a 6'10" player that can create his own shot, rebounds really well. But when he was on the floor, he looked lost on offense and defense. So anyways, you have these 2 camps. What do we do? Do we, start over from scratch? Do we keep running back? So Rob Pelinka just tears the entire team apart. And as we started getting acquisitions, there was some excitement, but then there was some confusion. It was clear that Dennis Schroeder wasn't coming back because we offered him $84 million, and he said no. Nah.
Nope.
Now he's getting paid $5 or $6, which is still $5 or $6 million more than I am. But he left a lot of money on the table.
Fumble the bag.
Yes. So our whole approach going into last season, which I think is kind of carried into this season, I don't agree with. We need a starting point guard next to LeBron James. Why? LeBron James is the offense. He is the system. So when you put Dennis Schroeder next to him, he doesn't know what to do. There's no cohesion there. And when you put someone else next to him, I'm going to say who someone else is in a second. Again, it doesn't make sense. So we signed Kendrick Nunn with the mid-level exception. You know, all right, Kendrick Nunn. Then we re-signed THT, and I'm like, okay, Kendrick Nunn and THT, how exactly is this going to fit? Then we get Malik Monk, and it's like, okay, he's really talented, but now we have 3 guys that kind of need the ball to be successful. We signed Rondo as like our new Jared Dudley. Jared Dudley was on the championship team, not playing a minute, but he was giving advice and all that.
Don't get me started on Dudley. Most trash person I've ever seen on a bench.
He can't play anymore. He has no value on the basketball court. But he had value off the basketball court. Like off the basketball court.
I think he has so much non-value on the court that I wouldn't even care how much value he has in the locker room.
So we signed Rondo. We get Dwight back, which I felt like we should have re-signed Dwight after the championship year. I don't know what happened there. It was reported that we signed him, and then it was like, no, we didn't sign him. Then 20 minutes later, he's on the 76ers. But then we signed DeAndre Jordan, who ended up getting a bunch of coaches' DMPs on the Nets. He's clearly past, not his prime, he's past ability to play on an NBA court.
I agree.
The trade. Let's talk about it. We had a chance to get Buddy Hield for Montrezl Harrell and Kyle Kuzma. Montrezl Harrell was a free agent, so he wasn't returning anyways because he ended up not being in the rotation at towards the end of last year. So the fact that we got him to agree to a sign and trade is amazing. And then Kyle Kuzma, we re-signed him for $13 a year. So trading for Buddy Hield to me made a lot of sense because you're still keeping KCP and others, those defenders. So it's reported, it's about to happen. It's about to happen. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Twitter. Okay, we about to get Buddy Hield. We have a shooter because that's what we need. We need shooting. Next thing I know, that's been scrapped. We're getting Russell Westbrook. And I'm like, oh. We're getting Russell Westbrook for Kuzma, Trez, and KCP. At that point, the Lakers put themselves in a situation where, like, this either has to work or it's going to be a train wreck. Like, there was no in between because of what we were giving up and because of how much money Russell Westbrook makes. He's a max contract. So we get Russell Westbrook. Naturally, I try to be positive. Okay, well, maybe they can work it out. My heart is saying that. My mind is saying LeBron James and Russell Westbrook cannot work on a court. They do the same thing, and neither of them are great shooters. AD's not a three-point shooter or whatever. Cool. We don't bring back Alex Caruso because of, luxury tax and whatever. So right now, our roster is LeBron, AD, Westbrook. We got Kendrick Nunn on the mid-level making like 5, and everything else is straight veteran minimum contracts. So we don't have any tradable assets. So
what's wrong?
What's wrong? We are not terrible. I want to get this out the way. We are not terrible because of Russell Westbrook. That's not fair. We are not terrible because of Anthony Davis. We're not terrible because of Frank Vogel.
Thank you. Thank you for pointing out Frank Vogel and Russell Westbrook. Continue.
We are terrible because of all of that combined. And I'm going to talk about each one now. Starting with Frank Vogel. Frank Vogel. You want to talk about somebody that doesn't make adjustments well. Like he can be a defensive mastermind with the right personnel, but offensively, like I don't know the last time we've had an offense. Like the championship year, the offense was LeBron. So the last 2 years, we've tried to put a starting point guard next to LeBron to try to take the workload off of LeBron, but we don't have an offense. Like when you watch the Lakers play, you can go to LA Fitness and see that level of offense. Like Russell Westbrook will come down court and post up, and everybody else is looking like, what do I do? AD will set a screen and then like dive to the goal, but then they're throwing it to the corner. A guy in the corner is like, oh, I guess I got to do something. Like, we got a bunch of people that can make shots. We got Carmelo Anthony, we got Malik Monk, but we don't have an offense. So there are some people that get on Vogel a little too much, as if like it's all his fault. However, he has been awful this year as a coach. Like, now, I don't think he picked this roster, and I don't think it fits his strengths, which makes things difficult. However, just running basic offense is what we need. Like, especially when you have 3 stars. Like, when there are 2 of them on the court, there have been times where you've seen some level of chemistry. LeBron and Westbrook, they're cutting. Westbrook and AD, they have their, pick and roll, offense going. And of course, LeBron and AD want a ring together. But when all 3 of them are on the court, it is not clear what everyone's role is. And that's my biggest gripe with Frank Vogel. We don't have an offense, and people don't know what their role is. Russell Westbrook does not know what his role is, and his role is changing often. And
it changes every night,
every game.
Like, he does,
and you can tell the way he plays. He just looks like, am I supposed to be in a dunker spot? Am I supposed to be creating? Like, he definitely looks lost.
He doesn't know what's going on,
Yeah.
and it's not his fault. It's like, because most of them don't know what's going on. There'll be times where it's crucial possessions and like Avery Bradley's pulling up for a long 2, and I'm like, what are we like? No one called that.
Yeah.
Like, couldn't have been the case. But yeah, so that's the Frank Vogel spill. I forgot to. Well, I'm gonna get to the front office, but that's the Frank Vogel spill. Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis plays sometimes as if he forgets he's Anthony Davis. Like, even recently, he came back. He had a game. He played like 20 minutes. Then like 5 straight games, he's averaging like 30, 13, and 3 blocks. He's playing hard. He's dominating offense and defense. Then like the next 3 games, it's like 19-7, 21-9. And it's like, you're Anthony Davis. Like, to me, Anthony Davis and Giannis are the 2 most versatile defenders in the league. I think they're the only 2 people that can guard Trae Young and Joel Embiid. I can't think of anyone else that can do that. And when AD's locked in, he can play like a top 3, top 5 player. But for whatever reason, this year, there's just some times where he looks disinterested. Now, when he has played well, we've still lost. Like, we've still been terrible. So, that's neither here nor there. Now let's talk about the front office. Let's talk about the roster construction. I'm going to get to Westbrook in a second.
Mm-hmm.
The roster doesn't make sense. We do not have any defenders. We don't have any wings. We have nothing but guards. I guess if you want to consider Carmelo a wing, but Carmelo's 38 years old, 37, 38 years old.
Yeah.
His job is just spot up and shoot threes. Yeah. Trevor Ariza is our wing. Trevor Ariza is 36, 37, 38 years old.
He just recently came back.
Yeah, he came back off an ankle injury. So
the whole team is 37 years old.
We're really old. We're really old. LeBron was like, keep that same energy and blah, blah, blah. And as a Laker fan, I'm like, I think they're right. I think we might not be that good.
I have a simple answer to this.
Go ahead.
Well, no, I'm going to let you finish.
Okay. Yeah, so we don't have any wings. We have nothing but guards. We have none. Well, we had Rondo. We got Wayne Ellington. You got THT, who we've overvalued like crazy. We didn't go get Kyle Lowry because of THT. Yeah, it might have been giving up too much, to get Kyle Lowry. But THT, I've always been a little bit skeptical of him. Like last year, preseason, he had that game. He played well. The previous playoffs, he played well. But he was another one of those kind of like Kyle Kuzma. I was like, what is his role?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what his role is. Like, I know he can get to the basket and score. He's not a great shooter, but what is his role? Until we define his role, he's not going to be successful. THT needs to be on a rebuilding team where he can have the ball and make mistakes and get better. He is not someone we need on a championship roster. So, yeah, we don't have any wings. We have too many guards. We don't have any forwards. We don't have any power forwards on the team. Like, we gave up Markieff Morris. Like, when you watch the Lakers play, like, it's AD and 4 guards when LeBron's not in. Like, and we've embraced it because we had to somewhat, for Westbrook. But then there are times there are their centers tearing us up, and Dwight Howard's just sitting on the bench, not getting any play time. So what they do is they run a pick and roll. They get the switch on AD. So now AD's guarding the point guard, and Malik Monk is down there guarding the paint. Trevor Ariza's guarding the paint. Like, it doesn't make sense. And then we don't make an adjustment at all. We just let it happen all game. And then they talk to Frank Vogel. He's like, yeah, man, you guys have to try harder. Like, bro, it's not working. Like, you have to do something differently. All right. So the roster doesn't make sense. It's old. We're too small. We don't have any forwards. We don't have any defenders. It doesn't fit Frank Vogel. All right. So Russell Westbrook. Let's talk about Russell Westbrook.
Brody, my dog.
I like Russell Westbrook. I do. And some people think I don't. Like, I do like Russell Westbrook. He plays really hard. Superstar. Iconic player. I think he's an iconic individual. I compare him to Iverson a lot. Like, he's like he's just one of a kind. But he is really flawed. And it is really hard to wow, the game is tied. It's 99-99. They were down 28. It's really hard to construct a team that can win around Russell Westbrook considering his weaknesses, especially as he ages. 4 or 5 years ago, I said Russell Westbrook's game is not going to age well because it's predicated on athleticism in terms of his offensive game. He can't shoot. He can't shoot, so it shrinks the floor a lot. He has bad hands. Catching and he doesn't have touch. There are at least 7 or 8, elbow shots from this year that hits the top of the backboard and nothing else. Like, it's happening really frequently. It's very concerning. Russell Westbrook's not a good defender. He doesn't have good defensive IQ. He has defensive energy sometimes, but he doesn't have good defensive IQ. So in order to be successful, as successful as you can be with Russell Westbrook, he needs to have the ball all game long in order for you to have a chance. When he won MVP, he was getting all those triple doubles and all that. He had the ball all game long. He created everything. And you take the good with the bad. He's going to turn the ball over. He was a better shooter then. Like, he could come down court full speed and pull up for a midi and be fine. But right now he can't shoot. He's not as fast. He's not as athletic. He's missing a lot of layups. Russell Westbrook's missing a lot of layups. Now, a lot of this can be attributed to him not knowing his role. So sometimes, like, he sees an opportunity, he just goes, and like no one else is running with him, and then like he'll go right at 4 people and jump up, and then he'll try to pass it to somebody, and it ends up being a turnover. He plays too fast often. But considering what we gave up for Russell Westbrook, we put the team and we put Russ in a position to fail because the fit just was never going to work. Like, playing with LeBron James, you have to be able to shoot. You have to be able to shoot. Like, it worked with Dwayne Wade because they were younger in their prime, but that was also a different league, 10, 12 years ago. Now everything's about spacing. Like, in fourth quarters, they're not guarding Russ. And there's no movement. There's no set offense that tells Russ, okay, when this happens, this is the action that you do. So everyone's standing around. The paint is clogged. AD looking like, what am I supposed to do? And LeBron's just directing traffic like he knows what's going on. But the defense, we're playing into defensive strength. So the addition of Russell Westbrook is a valuable player, but he is not valuable to the Los Angeles Lakers because him and LeBron, that just wasn't going to work. LeBron and Kyrie was a clunky fit to some degree, but Kyrie was skillful enough to where he can shoot, he can create. LeBron James is the second greatest player of all time, in my opinion. But every team he's gone to, he had to be the system. LeBron has never played within an offensive system. He is the system. So, like, part of the reason why a lot of his teams struggle when he goes to the bench is because there's no offensive system in place. So as soon as LeBron sits, everybody's just doing a free-for-all. But yeah, that's that. So that's Westbrook. Talked about the roster construction. I talked about AD. I talked about Frank Vogel. We're just a really poor defensive team without an offensive plan. So we're not good at defense or offense or shooting. I'm not sure we do anything well at all. And that is why we are 26-31, and I blame all of those people.
Look, it's really, really simple. I don't need an hour
Let's hear
to
it.
go on a whole soliloquy about what's wrong with the Lakers.
Let's hear it.
Soliloquy.
I can name one thing and one person as to why the Lakers are 26-31
And
or
who is
whatever
that?
the record is.
26-31, yes.
It's LeBron James.
So why is it LeBron's fault?
It is LeBron James because he is the bottom line person that is the reason for the roster. Nothing happens without LeBron. Hey,
Signing off on it.
yeah, signing
LeBron
off
put
on it.
this roster
He
together.
put
Oh, yeah,
this team
absolutely.
together.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Russell Westbrook, that was him.
Yeah.
Carmelo Anthony, that was him. All of these
Malik
pieces,
Monk, yeah.
this is LeBron James. You could, like you said, you could have had Buddy Hield, but you didn't. You chose to go a different direction. And I mean, what can you expect? I mean, and like you said, whenever he said that tweet or whatever, he was like,
Before the
keep
season.
yeah, before the season, keep that same energy. We knew who y'all were when y'all got these players. We knew Russell Westbrook was a turnover machine. We knew he couldn't shoot. We knew he had flaws in his game. That is Russell Westbrook.
Mhm.
We've been amazed by the triple-double, but that's who he is. He has never shot well. Never, ever shot well. So why do
He
we
is
think
who we thought he was.
why do we think that's going to change just because you play with the Lakers? Just because you play with LeBron? That does not change. That's why I think this is all on LeBron, and I'm going to continue to give him this energy that he deserves because
No, I
it's
mean,
LeBron.
no, I mean, yeah, LeBron put this roster together, but LeBron, this is where like you got to save a player from himself. Like Michael Jordan is not was struggled with talent. Like he's the one that drafted Adam Morrison, and Michael Kidd Gilchrist, and in front of like people that ended up being superstar. Like LeBron, as the player, he thinks like, yo, he's a hooper. I can make this work with him. Or we played an All-Star game or Olympics together and blah, blah, blah. But you're right. This is who Russell Westbrook has been. And it's a deteriorating version of that. Like I said, I think it's probably been engineered by LeBron. The whole like, we need to get a point guard to make things easier on LeBron, but it doesn't make sense. LeBron can play point guard until he retires.
Yeah.
LeBron needs to be our starting point guard, and we need to have LeBron, AD. If you want to have a center out there to help with Jokic and Embiid or whatever, that's fine. And then you need wings. Danny Green was a wing that could shoot. KCP was a wing. He was a little undersized for me, but he was a wing that could shoot and defend. That's why it worked. So even when they had bad games, how well a shooter's shooting doesn't even matter sometimes, as long as the defense is reacting to the threat of their shot. So Danny Green could be in a slump, but there's still space because the defense has to guard
Respect it,
Danny
yeah.
Green. They don't have to guard Russell Westbrook. And if you have Russell, so the times you have Russell Westbrook, okay, we were starting DeAndre Jordan for the first 20 games of the year. We started DeAndre Jordan and Kent Bazemore. We started them. They're not in the rotation anymore. They were bad for 20 games. It took 20 games for Frank Vogel to realize, like, yo, we shouldn't start them. You can't put Kent Bazemore and DeAndre Jordan on the floor at the same time as Russell Westbrook.
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't make sense. You have to put in a Monk. You have to put in an Ellington. You should have got taller people and wings that can shoot.
Look, man, the Lakers are not going to win a championship. They'll be, good enough just to even make the play in at this point.
We can
And-
get past the play, and that would be a win.
And at this point, and hey, you can put my name to it. Corey thinks LeBron James is done winning championship.
Mm.
Unless he was to go build another super team like he's, prone to do. Unless he goes and build another super team, LeBron James is done winning championships in the NBA.
Mm.
As long as he's on the Lakers, I cannot co-sign that because I have to have faith. I have to have faith no matter how delusional
This guy.
it may be. This offseason, we're going to have to do something with Russ. We're going to have to do something with THT. We have to get wings. We have to get defenders. And I don't know what the answer is. We just tried to there there were talks about shipping Russ out for John Wall, and they were
Mhm.
offering John Wall and Christian Wood for Russ, THT, and a first-round pick.
They didn't want to give up THT though. That was the problem.
Yeah, that and the first-round pick.
Yeah.
I would have looked at that one, man. Christian Wood.
Christian Wood is good, but John Wall, we haven't seen John Wall.
We don't know.
play in
Yeah,
like
we don't know what
3
John
years.
Wall looks
3
like.
years.
Yeah.
Like
We don't know
So,
what he looks like, but we do know.
I'd rather take my chances with Russ.
Mm.
Yeah, as long as LeBron's on the team, I have to have some level of faith. We have to do something with Russ. We have to do something with THT. That's
think-
best for them too. Like,
Do you think they're gonna get rid of AD? Trade AD?
I don't.
Because I've seen rumors about.
Yeah,
that
I've seen
possibly
Stephen A.
happening.
talking about that. Like, he's not available enough, and you got to think about life outside of LeBron and all that. But I don't. Considering how much you got for him or how much you gave up to get him, I've never understood the rationale behind trading Anthony Davis because even
I think
not
it's because
reaching.
he's not that guy
Well, no, okay, so
anymore.
Anthony Davis, I said this the championship year. Anthony Davis was not going to take the reins
Yeah.
and be the guy, the championship guy. In the NBA right now, and typically there's usually 4 to 5 guys that can be that guy on a championship team. Anthony Davis was right under that. I didn't see that being the case for him, which I accepted and I was fine with. Even an Anthony Davis that is frustrating still gives you 24, 10, 3 blocks. And he does so much for our defense. Like, so I don't know what you're gonna get for Anthony Davis that's of equal value or that's gonna help you, going forward. Hold on, I gotta watch the end of this. It's a dagger. Ooh!
Was
Look at
that Curry?
KD.
That was Curry that shot that.
Nah, Thomas. D-boy was down 28.
Wow, they were down 28, bro. They won by 6, bro. That's a 34
Point swing.
turnaround, bro.
Yeah. The Knicks being the
Look
Knicks.
at Julius
Look at
Randle,
Julius.
bro.
Hey, so we gonna get on Knicks too. We gonna get the Knicks in a second.
Bro.
Wrap up the Lakers, but we are gonna get on the Knicks because I got something for the Knicks too. So
Hey.
no, I don't think they're gonna get rid of Anthony Davis. Maybe they will eventually. I don't think it'll help us be a better team. Like I heard there was some saying trade AD for Damian Lillard, and that didn't make sense to me. Damian Lillard doesn't help your defense at all, and again, putting him with LeBron, what does that do for you?
Yeah.
If we had an offensive system, I think we could get more out of Anthony Davis because there are times where he's just setting screens. Why don't we have something designed to get him the ball? Like same thing with Russ. Like a lot of time when Russ is scoring, it's in semi break or it's a post up where everybody's just standing still. But we don't design anything to get Russ easy buckets. Even LeBron at this point. LeBron is just fadeaway jumpers and step back through them little ugly, look down, and
Yeah.
shoot the stuff.
That
We don't have an. It's
it
very
looks-
ugly.
Oh.
It's very ugly. But I'm going to add it to my bag because it's funny. You just,
I'll be
But-
like, what? Okay.
but we don't have an offense, so like we're not getting the best out of our players. I don't know what the plan is going forward. I don't know who you add. I don't know if it's possible. One thing we got to think about, I think that the Lakers are learning, and I think the Nets may learn too. It worked the first year, but we also had a lot of players that were returning. You can't just flip a team on its head and just win a championship the next year. Right now, who's killing it? Phoenix. That core has been together for years. They added Chris Paul. Milwaukee.
Walking.
That core has been together. The Warriors, even though as much as they've been through, they drafted those players. So, Miami,
develop those players.
yeah,
too.
they developed those players. So, our championship team, yeah, we went out and got AD, we went out and got LeBron, but we still had Caruso, we still had KCP, we still had Kuz, we still had a core of players that we actually groomed and had on the team. Now we're trying to hold on to young players that probably need to go elsewhere. Like I said, the THT is one of those guys. Malik Monk's been amazing. I don't know if we can keep him, but that's what's wrong with the Lakers. I'm done.
Man, Lakers trash, bro. Lakers trash.
Thank you for joining us on the For the Win vodcast.
Make sure you follow us on IG at For The Win Vodcast, on YouTube at For The Win, on Apple Music, on Spotify. We are everywhere.
For the win. And we out.
Peace.
Yes, sir.